Let's begin the session to understand this grammar section. The first parts of speech, which is known as the nouns and articles, right? Before we talk about it, I asked many of the questions. That's called as what is parts of speech, right? So we understand that the 8 parts of speech that helps us to that helps us to form the sentence properly, isn't it? If we don't have the parts of speech, we cannot form sentences, right? And we talk about what are those parts of speech? The parts of speech like nouns, pronouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, conjunction, interjection, and preposition. These are called as 8 parts of speech. And these 8 parts of speech help us to what? Help us to form a proper and correct, accurate sentence. Proper or correct or accurate sentence, isn't it? If they are used in the proper place in the sentence. If they don't use in the proper place in the sentence, then it is known as a grammatically inaccurate, isn't it? Let's say that if I give you a kind of a sentence, the sentence is called as alas, the old man and his wife sang a beautiful song, very slowly at the party, isn't it? At the party. So what do you find out in this? Alas, the old man and his wife sang a beautiful song very slowly at the party. What do you mean by that? It is a sentence. Can you tell them what kind of a sentence it is? It's an exclamatory sentence. If it is an exclamatory sentence, can you tell that which one is the subject here? Only the old man. No. So you would find out that this one is called as completely the subject of the sentence. Right? If it is the subject of the sentence, then rest is known as a predicate of it. Isn't it? The rest is called as a predicate of it. So this is predicate, this is subject. So here you would find out the whole is this part is also known as a kind of a phrase, right? So why it is called as a phrase? Because here you are talking about it's not only about the noun, it's about the phrase, right? In that case, it is known as a noun phrase. And if you look into this one, this is something called as a sang, which is called as a verb phrase, and a beautiful song, which is known as a adjective phrase, isn't it? Adjective phrase. And if you talk about very slowly, it is known as a adverb phrase, right? If you talk about at the party, it is known as a prepositional phrase, isn't it? Now we do have noun phrase, verb phrase, adjective phrase, adverbial phrase, and prepositional phrase. Now, in that case, if I segregate this particular sentence, right, into the word level, because what we have done, हमने यहाँ पे किया क्या? एक सेंटेंस को सेग्रीगेट किया फ्रेज के हिसाब से. क्या फ्रेज है. फ्रेज किसे कहते हैं? Group of words that doesn't have the verb, right, and doesn't make any sense. So in that case we would find out doesn't make any kind of a sentence. In that case we talk it as a means, or we tell it as a phrase. So you can say that this one is a noun phrase, this one is called as a pronoun phrase, isn't it? तो उस हिसाब से देखा जाए we have a noun phrase, pronoun phrase, verb phrase, adjective phrase, adverbial phrase and prepositional phrase. लेकिन phrase के अलावा हमारे पास clause भी होते हैं, राइट। क्लॉज क्या होता है? जो कि पार्ट ऑफ द सेंटेंस होता है एंड उन्हें मेक सेंस कैसे होगा? मीन्स आपके पास क्लॉज है, राइट, सो उसमें एक वर्ब होता है, राइट, एंड व्हेन इट कैरीज अ वर्ब, राइट, इन दैट केस it doesn't make the complete sense. It doesn't make the complete sense. So therefore we cannot call it as the sentence. हम इसे sentence कह नहीं सकते, लेकिन हम उसे clause कह सकते हैं, ठीक है? So क्योंकि उसमें एक verb है, but that doesn't make any sense, right? That doesn't make any sense. So that's why we can't call it a sentence, right? Let's say that एक group of word है जिसमें आपका verb यूज किया है, right? Let's say that if I say he told me, so he told me is what? It's a subject, verb and object. इसमें subject, verb, object तो है, but can you call it a sentence? आप इसको sentence कह सकते हो? क्यों नहीं कह सकते?
Doesn't make any sense.
Because it is incomplete. Right or not? He told me what? Isn't it? So in that case, his sentence incomplete here. So as it is incomplete, so that's why what do we do in this? Now we need to complete it, and for that we need to use or add object into it. तो तभी जाके complete हो सकता है, right? So he told me what meant. So he told me to do this as soon as possible. Isn't it? In that case, it would be okay to understand it is a complete sentence, है कि नहीं? So, लेकिन अगर इसमें object नहीं होता है, then we call it as a clause, right? So, but if you observe that phrase and clause समझ में आता है, right? Now, if we go into the word level, so what do we find out? In word level, we draw that what? That called as a means word level, right? हमने phrase level में गए and हम clause level को भी understand किए. So now we will move towards the means word level. If we go to the word level, what do we draw? We draw that this word alas. So alas is a what? It is an interjection, isn't it? Interjection. So if I talk about the what do you call it?
The article.
But article is there in the parts of speech. Parts of speech में article है क्या? नहीं है. तो अगर article parts of speech में नहीं है, तो इसे क्या कहा जा सकता है? Adjective कहा जा सकता है, right? क्योंकि why do we call it adjective? Because it is generally used before the noun, right? And to form what? नाउन के पीछे ही आर्टिकल यूज होता है ना, तो अगर नाउन के पीछे आर्टिकल यूज होता है तो इट इंडिकेट्स अबाउट द स्पेसिफिसिटी और नॉन स्पेसिफिसिटी, राइट? और स्पेसिफिक और नॉन स्पेसिफिक, isn't it? Therefore we call it as an adjective. So when you talk about old is also known as an adjective, isn't it? If I talk about man, it is also noun, right? If I talk about ant, so it's also conjunction. It's a conjunction. If I talk about each, which is a pronoun. If I talk about wife, that's noun. If I talk about sang, it is a verb. And if I talk about a, adjective in the sense. So beautiful, it is also adjective of quality. And if I talk about song, it is also noun. And very, which is called as an adverb. And slowly, which is to adverb here, and at, which is a preposition. The is adjective and party is noun, right? So what do we find out? We find out all the 8 parts of speech: interjection, adjective, noun, conjunction, pronoun, verb, then after adverb, then after means you can talk about preposition. Right? Noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, adjective, conjunction, interjection, and preposition. When all these words put in a proper form in the sentence, right? Proper position in the sentence, what do you find out? You find out that means they make a meaningful sentence. What do? They make a meaningful sentence, isn't it? So therefore, we call it a means appropriate sentence, isn't it? समझ में आ रहा है? तो now next move to the when we tell this as a proper sentence, right? These parts of speech are highly essential. Why these parts of speech are highly essential? Because if we want to identify the error, then we need to check it that which parts of speech are used in the sentence and whether they are used in the proper position, right? And if they have used in the proper position, so whether they are used in the proper manner or not, right? So in that case we call it as a means ये error है तो इसके बदले ये यूज होना चाहिए, right? Let's say that instead of very slowly, right? Instead of very slowly, if I use the term called as a much slowly, will it be okay? No, right? It is not, because much cannot use with the slowly. Much is the adjective one, much क्या है? Adjective है. So and ये हमेशा comparative के पास यूज होता है, right? Much हमेशा comparative के पास होता है. So in that case, much cannot use with the slowly. You can say that much more slowly, more use हो सकता है, right? But much use नहीं हो सकता है. So यहाँ पे very means very justified, क्योंकि अगर हम much और more use करते हैं, then we need to use than also. हमें क्या use करना चाहिए? Than भी use करना चाहिए, क्योंकि अगर आप more use करते हो तो वो comparison than को refer करता है. Got my point? Now coming to the next one. So what we will do? We will discuss the first parts of speech, that is known as nouns. Noun का first parts of speech का जो first parts of speech है, that's called as a noun. उसके ऊपर हम discuss करेंगे. Now let's say that अगर हम noun के बारे में discuss करते हैं, noun में क्या क्या चीज़ हम discuss करेंगे? So the first part is given as a kinds of noun, isn't it? The first one is called as a kinds of noun. In that case, can you tell me that what are the kinds of noun we have? Yeah. So there are how many kinds of nouns we have? 5. But sometimes you would find out that there are 6 kinds of noun. Sometimes also students say 2 types of noun. Right. So अगर मैं means 6 kinds of nouns point out to you, then we can say that common noun, proper noun, collective noun, abstract noun, or you talk about that countable noun and uncountable noun. Common, proper, collective, abstract. Then if you talk about material noun, then material noun के अंदर में countable and uncountable आते हैं. ठीक है? So sometimes students only say that countable and uncountable. So when we say countable and uncountable, all the nouns coming under it. सारे के सारे noun countable and uncountable noun हैं. Right? Let's say that, but we are not going to discuss those of the things. What we are going to discuss, we are going to discuss the rules pertaining to these nouns. Let's say that if you talk about common noun, what do we find out in a common noun? So, common noun or common nouns. So we know that common noun means any noun which is common to all, right? So, like let's say that book become books, or book भी कहा जा सकता है, and the books भी कहा जाता है, right? And book can be referred to any book, right? Whether you talk about means English book, math books, but they are generally known as a book, isn't it? Similar to that, a university, right? And the universities. So university become also common, isn't it? So common noun indicates that it can be singular, it can be plural. Common noun क्या हो सकते हैं? Singular भी हो सकते हैं, plural भी हो सकते हैं. So in that case, if I use any of the common noun, right? They use in the subject of the sentence, because when you say noun, they use in the subject of the sentence or object of the sentence. So not only nouns but also pronouns. Nouns and pronouns दोनों कहाँ पे यूज होते हैं? सब्जेक्ट में या तो ऑब्जेक्ट में यूज होते हैं. So if common noun is used as a subject of the sentence, then the verb will be what? Singular or plural? It depends completely on subject. कि noun आपका singular है या plural है. अगर noun आपका singular है तो verb आपका क्या होगा? It's also singular, and अगर ये singular होता है तो what do we carry? S or es, right? So object is optional. Object is optional. Let's say that means a very simple sentence that called as birds, right? So it is nothing but a common noun and it is a plural, right? So the subject verb agreement क्या होना चाहिए? So यहाँ पे singular ही रहेगा, right? Birds fly, isn't it? So what did you use? The word fly. Got my point? But if I say that a bird
Flies.
so in that case, what it will be? Flies, right or not? A bird flies. In that case, why? Because it is the subject of the sentence and the verb is nothing but a singular. Here, the subject is a plural, the verb will be plural. Isn't it? It's a very common thing, right? Now, in that case, we understand common noun can be singular, common noun can be plural, and it is generally used as the subject of the sentence or object of the sentence. If they use in the subject of the sentence, we need to observe that whether it is a singular or plural, right? If it is a singular, then the verb will be carried with the s or es form, right? If it is a plural, then the verb will be plural. Doesn't need s or es. Got my point? So at the same time, if it is a singular, then we also carry what? That called as is, was, or called as a has. Isn't it? So, but if it is a plural, then it carries what? Those are, or where, or you talk about have. Isn't it? Got my point? So this is what common noun presentation. Now moving to the next one is called as a proper noun, right? Do proper noun or proper nouns, right? So do proper nouns means singular or plural? It's always singular, isn't it? So proper noun always considered as a singular. So in that case, if proper noun is used as a subject of the sentence, the verb will be what? Singular too, right? Let's say that means Amit makes a lot of question. Amit makes, isn't it? So Amit is what? It's a means that word is a singular one, proper noun as well as singular. So therefore, what do we do? Amit makes, isn't it? Amit makes a means lot of questions. So in that case, it is a proper noun and it always carries the singular form, right? Now, next is called as, so we understand common noun is countable noun and it is means it can, why it is called as a countable noun? Because it can be singular, it can be plural. Anything which can be singular, anything which is called as a plural can be called as a countable noun or means referring as a common, right? So proper noun can be counted but as a one, right? So in that case it is also countable noun. Then the next one is called as a abstract noun. Abstract noun. So now the question comes out, do you think that abstract noun is a countable? No, abstract noun is not called as a countable noun. So in that case it is known as an uncountable noun. So abstract noun generally carries with the, if it carries the subject of the sentence, then the verb will be what? S or es, right? Subject, if the subject is abstract noun, then the verb will be S or es. Let's say that if I say courage takes you, isn't it? Takes you in the great height. Courage takes you in the great height. In that case, courage is the abstract noun and takes become the verb and it carries S or es form. Got my point? So in that case, it is an abstract noun and abstract noun generally carries with a means singular form. Right? It is an uncountable noun. So please to understand the subject and verb agreement when we talk about nouns. जब आप nouns के बारे में हम डिस्कस करते हैं तो हमारे दिमाग में आता है कौन सा चीज That's called as a subject-verb agreement. If the subject is a common noun, then the verb can be singular, can be plural. If the subject is a proper noun, the verb is always singular. If the subject is a abstract noun, so the verb is always singular. Got my point? And singular means what? That carries s or es form, right? Or is, or you can talk about was or has. Okay. Coming to the next one. The next one is what? That's something called as a collective noun. Any idea about the collective noun? What is that? Collective noun. Collective noun. Sorry? Yeah. So, can you give example of it? Herd. What else? Committee.
Right of man.
Group. Pride. What else? Flock. What else? Fleet. Right. So, army. What else? Bunch. Isn't it? So, you would find out numerous things. Whether you talk about means a fleet of sheep or a group of monkey, or you talk about troop of monkey, or a troop of soldier, or a committee, or a board of members, isn't it? Or you talk about a herd of cattle, or you talk about means what is that? A class, right? Class of students. In that case, you would find out a mob of people, isn't it? Who protest or who attack. In that case, the words that always combined group of people or group of anything, the end that has one name. And that name can be troop, that name can be committee, that name can be board, that name can be bunch, right? So all these words are nothing but called as a collective noun. And these collective noun, when they use in the subject of the sentence, what happened? When the collective noun is used as a subject of the sentence, so what happened? The verb always singular. Yes. So if the subject is the collective noun, then the verb is singular. Right? Let's say that means a class of students. A class of students has made noise even though the teacher presents. Right? Even though the teacher's presence. In that case, what happened? We are talking about has, which is a singular, isn't it? So a group of monkeys means follows the bus, isn't it? So in that case, what do you find out? A group of monkey. So which is a one, no? Why? Because it is a collective. So it doesn't referring to means separation. Does it refer to separation? No. If it refers to separation, then you can point out it is a plural. But as long as it refers to one, it cannot be called as a plural, right? So, but means like I told you, there is a condition also, right? What is that condition? There are some collective nouns. There are some collective nouns that generally use as the plural form. What are they? When you talk about the collective nouns can be called as a poultry, isn't it? You talk about people, you talk about move, you talk about public, you talk about gentry. What else you can refer to? Cattle, right? Or you talk about vermilion, right? Or you talk about police. Gentry, referring to the father of the church, right? So, or you talk about police. Poultry, people, public, gentry, cattle, vermilion, and police. So when you refer to these are the things, what you call them, then they generally use as a plural form, right? But remember that if I add means some adjective phrase before it, that's called as a herd of cattle. Now in that case, what happened? It becomes singular because you are referring to herd, right? Isn't it? So in that case, once they use with the adjective phrase, they generally refer to what? Singular, right? But if they use only the word called as a cattle, then it is known as a plural. Am I clear to this? So in that case, collective noun can be pluralized once we refer to this this particular means nouns, isn't it? If they don't use with the adjective phrase, right? Let's say that flowers, right? Flowers smell beautiful, right? But if you say that a bunch of flowers, then it has a different meaning, isn't it? So you need to observe that. The second ways through which we also understand that means nouns can be used as a plural. When it is used in the subject of the sentence, जब ये subject में use हुआ, जैसे कि let's talk about this particular example. The jury has given the verdict. The jury has given the verdict, isn't it? The jury has given the verdict. So in that case, what do you find out? The jury is a collective noun, doesn't it? So if it is a collective noun, then it refers to what? Has given, singular. But if I look into it, it is a subject, it is the verb, and it is the object. The jury has given what? The verdict. So, and the verdict reflects nothing but one, isn't it? So jury, collective noun one, and as for the verb, we also understand that it agrees with the subject, but at the same time, we also see that the object is also one. But what if I say, the jury have given different opinions on this case. So what do you find out? You find out the subject is a singular. Have given is given, which is a plural. Right? Then the sentence is correct or not? The sentence is not correct. Why the sentence is not correct? Means because we think the jury is a subject and it is a collective noun. And as per the rule, means collective noun always carry with the what? Singular verb. But here we find out it is a plural. But we need to observe that the object indicates that the jury is not a singular, it is a plural verb. It is a plural verb. Why? Because jury means members of the judges. Right? Once you consider singular, then we need to observe the verb. Verb is a singular verb. If verb is not singular, then we need to observe the object, whether the object shows the plurality or not. Right? So once we find out that the object is showing what different opinions, in that case the verb is correct. Right? And why the verb is correct? Now, because different opinions have been given by whom? Many of the members of the jury. Right? So therefore, the jury becomes the plural. So this is called as a second rule in the collective noun. The first rule is called as these are the words. They generally referred as a what? Means plural. And another rule is called as when we read the sentence, when the subject is a collective noun, right? We need to observe that the singular verb or not. If it is not singular, then we need to check that means the object. If it is a singular also, then also we need to observe object. Why? Because if the object is plural, then how come it becomes a singular? है कि नहीं? क्योंकि object शो करेगा कि subject आपका plural ही है. Am I clear with this? Okay. Coming to the next one. Besides collective noun, what else do you have? We have also that's called as a material noun, right? When we talk about the material noun. So when we talk about material nouns, so what do we find out? we find out all those means countable and uncountable. Material nouns means we are talking about all those countable and uncountable nouns. Uncountable nouns. So let's say that if I talk about countable nouns, so what do we find out here? In countable nouns, we find out benches, chairs, isn't it? Furniture, information, right? So, but furniture and information cannot be called as countable because they are nothing but again called as uncountable in nature, right? So, things which will be able to count it, right? And uncountable noun that you can say air, gas, and you can say that yes, gas, liquid, and solid. So this can be called as a kind of uncountable noun. So under the air you can say that nitrogen gas, hydrogen gas, air, right? These are nothing but certain examples of the gas. So nitrogen, hydrogen, or you talk about gas, air, right? So these can be taken as the example. Gas can be gases, right? Because you are talking about number of gases. But when you talk about air, can it be airs? When you say that nitrogen, can it be called as a nitrogens? No. So in that case, they are called as uncountable. Similar to that liquid is called as you talk about all milk or called as honey, or you talk about sorry, water. What else? Oil, isn't it? So all these can be called as liquid substances. Solid, you talk about paper, right? Sugar, right? Or you talk about sand. In all these cases, they are nothing but known as a solid, right? They can be measured on the basis of, you can say that आप उसको count तो कर सकते हो, लेकिन कैसे count करोगे? You need to add some of the phrase before it, right? Isn't it? So let's say that when you say a cup of tea, a glass of milk, 2 glasses of milk, right or not? 2 bottles of honey, right or not? 2 packets of water or 2 packets of oil, isn't it? In that case, you are making them countable once you are using phrase before it. So similar to that solid coming under uncountable noun, they can be used with the what? A sack of rice, or you can talk about a packet of sugar or a bottle of chocolate. Isn't it? In that case, you are adding nothing but the phrases before it to make them countable. Countable noun generally used with the what? S or es. Isn't it? So they can be known as a count. There is a what which can be counted. But again, certain things are there where you don't need to use s or es. Like there are certain words which are we generally know that what those words when used with the s or es after that, so they show the plurality. But there are certain words which you will find out do not use with s or es and represent nothing but the means plural too. Let's talk about the word called as a deer. So we don't use deers, right? We also talk about fish. So generally when you talk about fish as a plural, right? Also do not use with s or es. When you talk about beer, so animal, right? Or you talk about any object. So they talk about aircraft. Carry with the s, no, right? Aircraft, or you talk about spacecraft, right? Or you talk about handicraft, right? Or you talk about, what do we say that? Machinery, isn't it? Or you talk about poetry, right? So these are the words generally can be considered as a singular, can be considered as a plural, right? But they don't need s after that. But there are also such nouns which carry with the s, but they make you confused because when they seem plural, but they are not plural, right? Like you can talk about measles.
Scissors.
No, scissors is a plural. Scissors are,
But one scissor.
no, we don't say one scissor, we say a pair of scissors. Right? We say a pair of shoes. We say a pair of jeans. We say a pair of pajamas, shorts, pantaloons. Right? So here I'm talking about they do have the s or es with it, but they consider as the means what singular. Right? So you can talk about measles, you can talk about news, you can talk about moms, you can talk about rickets. You also talk about snookers, billiards, or you talk about physics, or you talk about mathematics, or you talk about economics, right? Economics. So in that case, what do you find out? Some are the name of the means disease, some are the name of the games, some are the name of the subject, right? And when they use, we do not get confused that they are the singular, right? Sometimes also you will find out name of the person, right? Which are also making you plural, but they are singular. Let's say kids, John Gates. So similarly plural, kids. So you are talking about many kids, but here kids is referring to one particular name of a person. So in that case, we don't say kids are, kids is. Got my point? So the next one is called as there are also some means nouns which generally used with the plural and also used as a plural. They cannot be singular, right? So let's talk about which we say binoculars. So it is a plural, right? And it is always used as a plural. Yes, if we say a pair of binoculars, so in that case it is known as a singular. Got my point? A pair of binoculars. So because of the word a pair of, so we understand that the verb will be singular. If you say seizures, or if you say that means what do we say? Jeans, or you say that shorts, or you say that pajamas, or you talk about innings, or you talk about settings, or you talk about premises, bowels, right? Pantaloons. Even we also say parents, isn't it? We also say parents. So all these words always used as a plural. Got my point? Okay, so even some nowadays also we say a single parent, isn't it? No, we don't say single parents, we say a single parent. Got my point? So, but you are using also a single before it. That defines that it is a singular. So all these words which can help us to understand when they use as a subject of the sentence, so they generally use as a singular or plural, right? If I talk about all these words, they seem plural but use as a singular. These are looking singular but they can use singular as well as plural. So we talk about these plural words, they are which use as a plural. Got my point? Now, moving to the next one can be known as a means possessive nouns. Possessive nouns. Okay. So when we talk about possessive nouns, so what do we mean by that? Possessive noun अगर बोला जाता है तो इससे क्या समझते हैं? Possessive का मतलब क्या है? What do you mean by possessive noun? Possessive nouns. What do you mean by that? So it means possessive is known as a possession, right? Isn't it? The meaning of possessive is called as a possession. Let's say that in noun, when we talk about possession, we generally use with apostrophe s, right? Let's say that if I say Raj's recent book or Raj's book, right or no? So it means Raj's recent book indicates what? Now, a recent book that Raj has written, right? A recent book that Raj has published. In that case, it is stated that Raj's recent book. So, if I do not use this apostrophe s, then what will happen? It will be known as a Raj's recent book. Two nouns, or one is a noun phrase and one is noun. So, it doesn't make any kind of a relation, right? But if I use apostrophe s, then it shows that this recent book belongs to Raj, or this recent book has written by Raj, right? But at the same time, they also do have some rules. What kind of rules? Now let's say that if I use apostrophe s, can I write that means autos will? Autos will. Can I write that means Nobel's first page? Nobel's first page. Can I write that? You can say that. What do we say that? Autos will, Nobel's first page, or Table's Lake. Table's Lake. Isn't it? Or can I say that Ashish marriage? Right. So can I say that Otto's will has come out? Can I say that Nobel's first page has turned? Can I say Table's Lake is broken? Can I say Ashish's marriage is on Sunday? Can we say this? No, we cannot. Why? Now because, like I pointed, possessive means what? Someone can possess something. Someone can write something. Someone can have something. Isn't it? But if you talk about auto, so auto cannot possess will. It is a means inanimate object. Inanimate means what? Which have no life. If I talk about Nobel's first page, so it also cannot. If you say Table's Lake, it is also cannot. So, but in this case, Ashish's marriage can be possessed by Ashish, right or not? So it has a different means rule. What is that? Now, when you say Ashish, so after apostrophe s, it makes a awkward sound, isn't it? We will discuss that. But the first thing is called as, if we cannot say autos will, then what we can say? Will of the auto, right? So you can say that what? Will of the auto. Will of the auto. So that we can say, or in this case, first page of the novel, or the first page of the novel, or we can say leg of the table, right? Isn't it? So in this case, so what do we draw here? We draw that when we talk about possessive pronoun, inanimate object doesn't carry apostrophe s, or inanimate object cannot carry the possession. Right? So these are inanimate objects and they can be written like will of the auto, first page of the novel, or leg of the table. Isn't it? So this is part of the first rule. The second rule is what? Now when we find out such kind of a sentence where it is stated as his marriage is Sunday, right? We find out that it sounds awkward. And for that, the rule stated that any word that ends with a CE, ending with SH, or called as a CH, or called as a only S, right? In that case, what we supposed to do? We supposed to means carry only apostrophe, but we will not use s. Why? Now because it produces awkward sound. Like let's say that Alice toys. Alice toys. So we don't need to use more s after that. Alice's. It makes an awkward sound. If I say that Ashish, Ashish apostrophe marriage, right? Got my point? Then you would also find out church, churchyard, right? So, or if you find out that boys, bags, right? And what do you find out here? That any word ends with nothing but s, ch, sh, and c. So should only carry apostrophe. And if the word is inanimate, then it should be written as a like this. Will of the author, the first page of the novel, or leg of the tale. Got my point? So this is called as a second. But should also remember another thing that's called as an in poem, right? We generally have a poetical word and sometimes we carry the object as a personified. Personified means personification. Comparing it with the human's quality, right? Like human's quality would be called as a man, anger, man, having a hatredness, man would be known as evil, man have a courage, man have a means you can talk about what rebellious, right? In that case, these are the qualities man do have, right? So or men do have. But if you talk about women do have nothing but called as a sacrifice, kindness, mercy, isn't it? Compassion, empathy, all these kind of qualities that you find out in women have. At the same time, woman is compared with the nature, woman is compared with the soil, woman is compared with the means you can say winter, right? So but man is compared with the sun, man is compared with the summer, right? Or so all these natural objects, right, are always known as a nothing but a means carrying the quality of the human being. Therefore, according to their means object, according to the object of the nature, we can do what? We can use the male or female and we can use the apostrophe s. Right? Let's say that nature has kept him in her lap or nature's lap. Nature apostrophe s, LAP, nature's lap, isn't it? So summer has his agony. Summer's agony cannot be bearable. Summer's agony. So agony of summer, right? So in that case, you will find out these are nothing but indicating as a what kind of a thing? They are known as a possessive form, right? Generally, nature do carry. So this is first, this is second, and that one is the third. Sometimes also when we talk about time, in time also we use apostrophe s. Let's say that we say a week's time. A week's time, isn't it? Means he has a 10-year experience, or called as a 10 years experience. Right or not? 10 years experience, or I can, if I don't want to put apostrophe, I can say a 10 years of experience, right? Or I can write a 10-year experience or experiences. So in that case, 10-year become adjective. 10-year experiences. So or experience you can write because A is written. So that's why plurality cannot be pointed at the end of it. So in that case, we can write, or we can write like experience of 10 years. Experience of 10 years. Isn't it? That's also one of the way to just point out that how many years of experience, a 10-year experience, or you say that a 10 years of experience, or you write that means experience of 10 years, isn't it? So this is again called as a fourth one, right? So first one is called as a this one non-inanimate object. Second one is called as a when you have a C, SH, CH and S. Third one is which I told you about the nature, right? So man and woman quality can be found in a natural object, so that's why they can also have the apostrophe, and this is called as a fourth one, right? The fifth one is called as a, so we have nothing but the compound noun. What do we have? We have the compound nouns. So when you talk about compound nouns, what do we find out? Now, let's say that brother-in-law, or you talk about sister-in-law, or you talk about what is that? Commander-in-chief, commander-in-chief, commander-in-chief. So in that case, or you talk about president of India, president of India. So in that case, these are called as what kind of a noun? Compound noun, right? But these compound nouns means they also use the apostrophe s. Where do they use?
Brothers-in-law.
No, they will always use at the end of it. Brother-in-laws, right? Sister-in-laws, commander-in-chiefs, president of India's, right? If you say brothers-in-law, so this is known as a plurality. Brother-in-laws become brothers-in-laws, right? So sister-in-laws become sisters-in-law. It is a plural, right? So, but a possessive is always used at the end of it. Got my point? This is what you need to know, right? This is called as a fifth one. Am I clear with this? Now, we have discussed about the possessive nouns, and we also discussed about all the singular and plural. Now we will move towards the articles, right? There are a couple of other things which will be discussed when we will discuss the questions. Let's say that when we say articles, what articles are? We have already known that articles are known as adjectives, right? Articles are known as adjectives. So in that case, what the articles do? Articles generally means point out the existence of noun, whether the noun is a singular or whether the noun is a plural, whether the noun is a common, whether the noun is a proper, whether the noun is a countable, whether the noun is uncountable, and whether the noun is a specific or means non-specific. Right or not? In that case, we use articles. Right? Articles can be used with the simple noun. Articles can be used with the compound noun and complex too. Right? So in that case, the word articles we understood from our childhood days that there are two types of articles. One is called as definite and indefinite, isn't it? Definite and indefinite. But if you observe carefully, means it is also indicated that specific, non-specific. Specific, non-specific. If I say specific, then we can point out to definite as a specific. Right? If I talk about indefinite, it means non-specific. So in a very common language, we understand articles can be segregated into particular and non or common. Right? Particular or common. Isn't it? Now if I talk about definite, how many means articles that you can point out? What the example of definite? The. Isn't it? We talk about the. So, and if we talk about indefinite, we talk about a or an, isn't it? A or an. So let's first discuss that A or an, then we go for the third. So when we start talking about non-specific A or an, where do we use it? We commonly know that A or an means referring to one, right? So in that case, we have an idea that called as it uses with the singular countable nouns, singular countable nouns, right? Second is what? Singular countable nouns. It means it doesn't use with the uncountable noun, right? So if I talk about A or an, they generally use with the what? You take the example of singular countable noun, like you can say a book, a boy, or you say that a university. University. Isn't it similar to that? And used with what? MLA. Right or an MLA, or you can say that an IAS officer, or you can say that an hour, right? So in that case, you would find out they use with the singular countable noun, right? But at the same time, they use with the means uncountable noun. They use it with the uncountable noun. How do they use with the uncountable noun? They use with the collective noun too, right? So they use with the uncountable noun when they use like what? A packet of, right? Packet of milk. You can also say that means what? A K-cup. So you can also say that a piece of information. Piece of information. You can also say a piece of advice. Sorry? An honor. Right. So in that case, you would find out a package of a cake of a piece of advice, right? So because milk cannot be milk, soap cannot be soaps, information cannot be informations, advice cannot be advices, right? So in that case, you would find out they always considered as the uncountable noun, but the uncountable noun can be counted when you use a packet of or a cake of or a piece of, like the kind of terms you use. Generally we use A or an for the sake of what? Means vowels and consonant sound based, right? Consonant sound, right? It means what is the difference between A or an? If you talk about A or an, they both can be used on the basis of the what? Vowels and consonant sounds. So when you say vowels, it means we are referring to an, and when we talk about consonant, we use A. Like you can find out here in this two, b, right? B sound is there, so in that is the reason we are using a b. So because b is a consonant sound, right? Consonant sound. So all the words, all the letter that produces consonant sound generally carry with the a article, but all the word letter that produces vowel sounds. So always remember that vowel sound doesn't mean refer to only 5, right? So there are no means of 5 vowel sounds. There somehow you would find out more than 5 vowel sounds. You can say that 8 and 12, 20. Why? Because 8 is means a different sound and 12 is nothing but a vowel sounds, right? So in that case, 20 vowel sounds and 24 consonant sounds are there. Total, as per the ITH or ITS International Phonetic School, so we have 44 sounds are there. So out of these 44 sounds, 24 sounds are consonant, 12 sounds are, means you can talk about vowel, and 8 sounds are diphthongs, right? Diphthongs means called as 2 vowel sounds are present in a letter, we can say that difference. In that case, means total 44 sounds are there. So that is the reason we can say a university, which is a consonant, but we say an MLA, A, an IS, I, an official, right? Sorry, an R, right? So in that case, you would find out even though it uses with the consonant letter, it produces the vowel sound, right? So whereas even if the vowel letter is produced, a 1 rupee note, 1 rupee note, even though it carries with the vowel letter, we have a what? We have a means consonant sound or vowel. It means W sound is W, right? And a university. So where you will find out Y sound, isn't it? Got my point? So therefore, we generally depend upon the vowel sound and consonant sound, not vowel letter and consonant letter. Got my point? Besides this also, A or an used with certain expression. Let's say that a little, a little. A little means what? What do you mean by a little? It is generally used with uncountable noun and it indicates some. Right. So you also said that the little. It is also indicating much. So and these two used with the uncountable noun. Got my point? Likewise, we also say a few, the few. A few, the few. They also use with some and many. Some or many. And they generally use with the word where that's something called as a countable. Doesn't it? It refers to countable. So in that case, uncountable noun, countable noun. In this case, means if I use a little, which means some, but if I use only little, then it means no, right? A little means some, the little means much. So similar to that, if I use few, then it would be also no. So a few means some, the few means many, isn't it? So the words like a indicates also in uncountable noun some, a few in countable noun some. Right. We also say what do we say that? You can say a lot of, right? Isn't it? Or we can say that also a great many students, a great many. Or we can say many a great, many a great. So these are the ways where we use generally a or a, right? Coming to the next one is known as a the. So where do we use the? The is generally used as a specific, right? Please do understand. A is also used with the where means when you are introducing any noun in the story. Introducing any noun in the story. Any noun in the story. Isn't it? So we talk about, let's say that the story about a tiger in the Prayagraj. A tiger. It means you introduce the animal, isn't it? So you can say that tiger is a dangerous animal. You also say that a tiger is a dangerous animal. You also say the tiger is a dangerous animal. So you also say that cow is a domestic animal. You say a cow is a domestic animal. You also say that the cow is a domestic animal. What the difference among these three? When you say cow is a domestic animal, so it's a general statement, right? But when you say a cow is a domestic animal, so it starts making a comparison among the other animals, isn't it? So, and it is saying that any cow is a domestic animal, right? Even the cows living in the jungle is also a domestic animal. The cow is a domestic animal makes a kind of a comparison and stating that what cows living in the jungle might be wild, right? But the particular cows which I keep in my, which I give, right, is nothing but a domesticated one. Got my point? So that is what. The is generally used with what? Means all those nouns, whether it's a common, whether it's a proper, whether it's a collective, whether it's a you can say that abstract, right? Whether it is a countable. So in all these cases, the can be used. Let's say that common noun. You say that the boys are playing in the field. The boys are playing in the field. So the boys becomes the common, right? And it is referring to means group, plural in case. So the boys means we are talking about specific boys in the school or specific boys of the camp, right? So in that case, the boys, we also say that the Nilgiris. What do you mean by the Nilgiris? Nilgiris is the name of the group of mountains, right? So when you say the Everest, the Mount Everest. So in that case, you are talking about the excessive range for which it has been taken as the given as the name the Mount Everest. Isn't it? You also talk about the Amazon forest. You talk about the Ramayana. You talk about the Mahabharata. You talk about the West Indies. You talk about the United States of America. Isn't it? So there can be used everywhere. Only thing we need to know that where the is not used. If we know that, then we generally means find out the means it becomes easier for you to make a kind of a differentiation. Let's say that the where the cannot be used. The shall not be used when you are talking about primary purpose. When you talk about primary purpose. So there we do not use the. The shall not be used. What do you mean by primary purpose? What is the meaning of primary purpose? The purpose that we do every day is known as a primary purpose. Let's say that you always come to institution or institute. You always come to institute. So if your father asks you like where are you going? So would you say that I am going to the institute? Right or not? So let's say that a boy always goes to school. Like one day his father asks where are you going? Or his friend is asking where you are going. So will he say that I am going to the school? No. Isn't it? I am going to the market. I am going to the medical. No, we don't use. Right. Why? Because they are nothing but called as a means primary purpose. They are not specific purpose. So if they are specific purpose, you can use them. So in all these cases, you can use what? Means I am going to school, right? I am going to school every day in my means in my cycle, but today I am going to the school by bus, right? In that case, you are specifically talking about nothing but a different purpose. Let's say that I am going to church every Sunday, right? I am going to the church. The second sentence, I am going to the church that locates near Axis Bank. Now, what do you find out? You find out the two different ideas. The first idea is indicating a primary purpose. The second idea is indicating about specific. Let's say that I am going to medical, right? So where I work, isn't it? So I am going to the medical where my friends are admitted. So you find out two different ideas. One is indicating primary, second is indicating I do not go to medical often. But today I visit to there because my friends are admitted. Isn't it? So in that case, we generally use the when we are talking about specifically for the specific purpose like define the geographical area or define nothing but meeting two friends, right? Or defining nothing but the building. Defining nothing but the building. So in that case, the is used. Second is called as the cannot be used before the proper noun. Proper noun. So we cannot use the before the proper noun. Can we? Can I say that the assist has done the mistake? No. But once you are making that proper noun as a common noun, so there we use the, let's say that means Dhoni is the means you can say that Dhoni is the haunting of, or you can say that you can say that Dhoni is the haunting of Australia. Dhoni is the haunting of Australia. Ricky Ponting. So Dhoni is the haunting of Australia. So in that case, what you did, you have made nothing but Ponting is which is a proper noun. You use the before it. Why did you use the before it? Because you want to justify that. So whatever the quality Ponting have, Dhoni have the same. In that case, you are making Ponting become common, not as a particular. Why Ponting become common? Because you are comparing quality of Ponting with the quality of Dhoni. So that's why Ponting is the Dhoni is the Ponting of Australia. Isn't it? So in that case, proper noun can be common. But if it uses at the beginning of it, right? So in that case, we cannot use the before it. And generally, when we talk about proper noun, also we don't use the. Right? Once it is common, then we can make it as a, or we can use it the before it. Then priming purpose, proper noun, and once you are talking about uncountable nouns. Can we use the before uncountable nouns? No, right? Because you say that gold is a precious metal. Gold is a precious metal. Can I say the gold is a precious metal? No, we cannot. But if we talk about means a specific gold, in that case we use the, let's say that means he purchased the gold from ABC jewelry is not in a good quality. So in that case means we can use the once you are talking about specific. But if it is a means beginning, use in the beginning of the sentence, we don't use the. Right. So similar to that, when we are talking about the general statement. So in that case also we don't use the, like water is a precious resource. We don't use the water is a precious resource. Tiger is a dangerous animal. You don't need to use the before it. Right. So in general statement. Next is called as we don't use the when we are talking about father, mother, isn't it? Uncle, aunt. So they don't need the before it. We also don't use when we are talking about breakfast, lunch, dinner, in that case also. Right? So because that you do every day. But yes, in the case of specific, you went to a party, so you took your dinner there. So and when you come home, or your brother or your wife asks you what happened. I took the dinner in my friend's house, and it was very heavy. Right? You can use like a heavy dinner, a heavy breakfast. So that you can use. You can say also the breakfast, the dinner, the lunch. When you are specifying that, not the primary, but the specific. Like you went outside and then you took the things. Isn't it? So beside them, means you can use the in everywhere. Let's say that you are talking about instrument. So that's called as a violin, violin, flute, drum. So you need to use the violin, the flute and the drum. Isn't it? So all such kind of things. And like I pointed, that can be used with the means the little, the few, isn't it? So these are all nothing but called as some details pertain to the nouns and articles. Right? Hope you understood. Ask me if you have any doubts. Okay. So coming to the first question, this section has men apostrophe s clubs, isn't it? Go for the second one.
Horse. The term also horse, yes.
Okay, go for question number 2 to 30. 30. 46.